This is Mark Solomon with the Financial Survival Center, and today I've got an interview with Paul Andreola from Netco Silver. Paul has a background in finance and investments and venture capital, as well as having a co-founded telecommunications company and digital media company, which means that he's got a broad-based area of expertise, both in helping to generate funds for companies out of Canada, as well as getting the word out and doing the developmental work in terms of making sure that they have an audience for the projects and the stories of their technology and their resources. And Paul's with us today both to talk about Netco Silver specifically, as well as just some of the general areas of silver exploration around the world in terms of Latin America, which is where they're focused on, along with how silver is going to be viewed now for an investment as well as in the future. And so, Paul, if you will, would you give us a bit of insight into what Netco Silver is about and where you see it fitting in the silver market?
Sure. Well, as the name implies, the Netco Silver, we are focused on silver properties, exploring for high-grade silver properties in Latin America. Right now, we're focused on a property specifically in Argentina. And the reason we sort of fell in love with this property, it had some past work done on it, and the grades that were discovered were remarkable. If your listeners are familiar with mining jargon and sort of some of the results that are available out there, we were able to see results of 6-7 meters of 2,000 grams per ton. In some cases,
Wow, 2,000 grams per ton. That's impressive.
2,000 grams per ton, yeah, including some sections that came in at 7,500 grams per ton.
Did you really
So
7,500 grams per ton? That's an amazing level. I mean,
yeah,
that basically is way beyond, in terms of even digits, what almost any other mine that's economic has needed.
exactly. Okay, so you can understand why we got excited when we saw these results.
Yeah, I can completely understand. That's an impressive level. Now, what about Paul? You've give us some background about what how you got started in this and your background about the industry.
Well, I started about 25 years ago. It's getting to the point where I can't even remember how long ago it was. I actually started in the investment industry back in the early 90s, and here in Canada, where we're located, a lot of the financing opportunities are in the resource sector, specifically in mining and oil and gas. And through the opportunities that presented to me as a broker and a venture capitalist, I got to be very familiar with the workings of the industry, of the mining industry. And through connections and different developments, got a good understanding of what works and what doesn't work in this industry. Sort of long story short, after years and years of experience, years and years of financing junior companies, and in some cases seeing those junior companies turn into senior companies, we as a group decided to get a little bit more aggressive and take a lot more significant positions in companies that we thought had merit, and that got us to where we are today.
Well, I can completely understand getting excited about some of these silver companies. I have a bit of a story that reminds me of Netco Silver many years ago when I got started in investing in the mining companies. And I was no expert in mining, so I used others to guide me as to what type of companies to invest in and that kind of thing. I happened on a company that reminds me in many ways of Netco Silver. They were priced roughly in the same range. It was sub 20 cents. And did some research background on the management of the company and whether or not they were real mine, that kind of thing, and determined that they seemed to be a legitimate company. I went ahead and invested in that company and turned out to be a 10 banger fairly shortly in 18 months. So silver certainly had those excellent resources, by the way. Certainly, silver certainly has that kind of a potential to deliver those kinds of returns. And I don't know that Netco is that type of company or not, but it certainly seems to be an exciting one. So where do you think we are in the silver? What stage of the market, and where do you think things are headed? From here, based on your experience.
I think we're still at a very early stage. The research we've done, and the reason that we got sort of into the silver industry specifically, tells us that we are well far away from any sort of top in the price of silver. What we see is a very strong industrial demand for the metal. The applications that we're seeing develop almost on a daily basis, the new applications anyways, are remarkable. I think the future is looking very bright for silver. And as far as pricing right now, sure, we're going to see volatility based on, sort of different swings in economics and different swings in politics. But I think longer term, we see much higher prices for silver.
So you see, even from the fundamental industrial side, a big demand for silver, and that means your company's got good potential.
Well, from the industrial side of things, of course, with slowing economies around the world, I could see where the industrial growth slows down, but I still believe we will see growth. I think 5 years from now, we could possibly see really significant shortages in silver, based on the research we've done, and that stems almost solely from industrial applications. I don't even bring into the equation what the investment demand could do to the price.
So take a step back from the fundamentals. Give us a bit of a background of how Netco started, when it started, and the management and that kind of thing.
Well, the company itself, it's a publicly listed company, and the way it was sort of came about is we actually purchased the shell. It was a sort of defunct shell that was trading on the Toronto Stock Exchange. At that point, we assembled a management team and took advantage of this property that we were familiar with down in Argentina and vended it into the public company. And that was about April of last year.
So the management team that you have in place seems to be very experienced, filled with geologists, knows the area. And I know that is one of the critical aspects, to have people who have prior success in the mining field. Could you give us more of an insight into the management of Netco Silver?
Sure. We've sort of tried to build a team that dealt with all the facets that are involved in running a public company. Andreola, our president, is a certified geologist that's had decades of experience all over the world, including quite a bit in Latin America. And the other gentleman that we're very happy to have on board, just joined us about a month ago, is Dr. Michael Hitch. Mr. Hitch has worked for, almost all the major companies you can imagine, and has run everything from an exploration program all the way to literally running the operations of the mine. From the geological side, management-wise, very well taken care of. The other important thing as far as management is we work with a group of geologists or a geological team that is located in Argentina and knows the ground as well as anybody possibly can, and knows the issues that you would be dealing with in a location like Argentina. So we're very well rounded there as well.
Yeah, well, you've brought up an issue that I'm almost hesitant to ask you about in terms of Argentina and the political situation and what you feel are the risks there, or whether or not there are significant risks with Argentina, because there are plenty of companies mining there, but also they've had some issues politically as to whether or not they'll let funds out and whether or not they'll confiscate properties. And I just want to get your take on what you think about the Argentina situation and whether Netco's in good situation.
Yeah, that's a question we've gotten quite a bit lately due to obviously some of the legislative changes we've seen down in Argentina. Argentina is surrounded by countries like Chile and Peru and Colombia, further north. These are all countries that are generating a lot of wealth and a lot of foreign currency through their mining industry. And I would have a hard time believing that the federal government in Argentina would really want to damage that too much. They've got an issue right now with the loss of sort of a currency control issue right now, where a lot of people are moving their money out of Argentina. So they're going to have to address that in a way that's friendly to industries that are quite capital intensive, as is the mining industry. So we really don't see sort of the fear that a lot of people have. We don't see that dramatic effect on companies such as ours, which are really first off, we're explorers, so we don't have the same issues that some of the seniors would have. But ultimately, we don't see her tampering too much with mining industry at all.
Now, Paul, that's a good answer, and I tend to agree with you on that. Now, Paul, a lot of companies are either they find the mines and then they turn them over. Some want to develop the mines. Some really want to be producers. Some joint venture. There are different strategies on how you want to sort of cash out of the investment if you do in fact want to cash out. And I was curious what Netco's overall strategy is and how they'll maximize shareholder value in terms of finding a mine, whether they're going to develop it, joint venture it, or simply be the explorers. What's your take?
Yeah, we recognize that there's probably our sweet spot and our expertise really is in the exploration and the beginning of development of a silver deposit. First off, I got to take a step back and just give you a broader sort of perspective of where we are in terms of location and development. Companies such as ours, you can build out a deposit and likely have a major come in and actually raise the big dollars and take it to full production. We are situated about 100 kilometers away from Pan American's silver deposit, the Navidad project, which right now is probably the first or second largest undeveloped silver deposit in the world, with over 1 billion ounces in ground. Once you have a major in the neighborhood, they tend to like to buy out anything that's close by. So we expect that once we further develop this project, that quite likely we're going to see someone else come in and take us out.
So currently you've done some drilling, you've done some exploration, you've shown that there's potential there. I'm sure you have a future plan for how you want to develop this resource and how you want to drill it out, and when do you think that'll occur? What are the time frames for some of that exploration to define more of the resource and get a bigger view?
Yeah, you know what? I think you're referring to about a week and a half ago. We released news that we discovered 2 new veins. Our property it's roughly 57 square kilometers. So it's a large land package. We've discovered probably close to 30 veins to date, including our signature or focus vein, which is the Terrell vein. But only 2 or 3 veins have been drilled so far. So what our geologists have decided was the best route to take is to get a good mapping and trenching sampling program completed on the property to get a good understanding of exactly what's there. So we're about 50% of the way in having done that. And like I said, just 50% of the property, we've discovered numerous veins, including the last 2. So the next real big step for us is to define our next set of drill targets and then to properly go out and drill those targets. The other thing that's nice about our deposit to date is that it's been only explored down to a maximum of 120 meters. It's open to depth, meaning there's the likelihood that it can extend down to 4, 5, even 600 meter level. And then it's open on both sides. So to the east and to the west has not been properly drilled either. So we have a multitude of drill targets. And, the biggest question mark for us right now is to decide exactly which targets are going to be priority.
Yes, it sounds to me like you've got a pretty aggressive drill plan, and I'm sure at some point you're looking to go ahead and establish some reports and do what they call is defining the resource and issue the reports based on that. Do you have a time frame of that?
That'll likely be next year. Yeah, our next round of drilling would certainly get us to the point where we would have to do a resource calculation.
And when do you think you might go back to the market for more funds to produce this drilling program and fund it?
We would definitely like to do another round. The next drilling program that we are going to embark on, we'd like to shoot for about 5,000 meters, which would give us a really good understanding of all the geology. We go after some of the other targets that are away from our main zones. So we anticipate that sometime in the fall we should be able to go back to the market and raise significant dollars for our drilling.
Fantastic. Well, Paul, it has been a pleasure talking with you and learning about Netco Silver. My take on it is that your huge value add and differentiator is that you have tremendously high grades of silver and you have an experienced management team. And it makes for an exciting operation that is right next to a major and could potentially be bought out. So it sounds to me like you're a very high potential exploration junior. Is that fair enough?
No, I think I think you nailed it. That's the reason we really like this property. It's in the right neighborhood, and certainly had the right early results. And I think we've got a lot more opportunity to find similar results.
Well, fantastic. Paul, it's been great having you here. We look forward to following the story of Netco Silver and look forward to having you on later on in the year to help share the story of Netco and your progress.
That'd be great. I appreciate it, Mark.
This
Take
has
care.
been this has been the Financial Survival Center, and I look forward to bringing you more information about other potential exciting stocks in the mining and resource and commodity arena. Thank you very much.